There. So I'm probably gonna, you won't know this because it'll probably just flow together for you, but I'm gonna record this throughout the day. My plans got changed for today. I actually would have been on the road already with my original plan, and instead I have some free time. And I was already up and I already drank some coffee. And so I just thought, well, I'm going to do this reading because I've been kind of itching to do a reading, not literally itching, wanting, I've been called to do a reading of just some feel-good stuff, right? So I'm going to be talking about you and the sort of like, gosh, I don't want to say favorable, I don't want to say good. What do I want to say? The fortunate. Sometimes shadow can be fortunate as well, right? Like one of my discoveries in my own journey that I've been walking is that my shadow has already always served me very well, especially the deepest, darkest ones. In terms of progress, which is something I value. And so I feel like you get the essence of what I'm trying to say, though. And it's like I don't want to limit it with words and I don't want to label it because it's so linear and 3D. And so if some of you don't mind using those kind of languages because that's where you're at, that's cool. Then you can just say some good things about you. But if you're kind of at that stage like me where it's like, well, what's good, what's bad? It's like, that's not really even a thing. Then you know what I mean. I'm just going to talk about some of these like generally considered positive attributes that you're either already embodying or working on embodying. So you're living out an experience that you're having that most would perceive as positive. And just because I just wanted to do something sort of uplifting, and not that we can't be uplifted by doing shadow work, because I've talked about the liberation high, you know? It can be very, very, what's that word? See, none of the words seem to be sufficient at the moment, so that's interesting. But it can be very fulfilling to liberate self from a limitation, you know? So the other thing is I had this like Starbucks vanilla flavored coffee in my cabinet, and I used it, and it makes my nose run. So it's actually fortunate because I was already inflamed because I had cheese and crackers yesterday. Yes, my body does not allow me to eat cheese anymore because it's dairy. My body says no to dairy, but I was just like, I don't know, I've been so bored with food that I was just like trying to go back to some other things because I was fasting, and like even during the hours that I'm supposed to eat, the 8 hours a day, I was just like uninterested. I tried my old go-to, which was sushi, salad. It was just like, rather not eat than have this. And the thing is, like, the way my body works, I'm an endomorph, so if I don't eat at all, my body will actually like just slow my metabolism down to like, you know, prolong the situation. And I really, really am I'm working with my body to try to help us get back into fitness because it really matters to me. And it's mattered for a long time. And I've put efforts in that haven't been fruitful on all different angles and planes. And so haven't quite figured out the science of my body yet, which is weird for me to say as an adult at 47 years old. But like, generally speaking, what works for others doesn't necessarily work for me, even though that's usually how my life goes anyway, not with fitness, and not only with fitness, but with a lot of things. Like I've just found that like the rules others play by, I had to tweak them all the time, like because it wasn't quite right for me. And that's okay. Like that's the experience I'm having here on Earth, right? There's no cookie cutter solution for me. So I've been working through that. So anyways, the inflammation I had from the cheese is being released with the runny nose. It's quite a thing. So you might see me sniveling a lot. And what I'm going to kind of like say about that as far as like the read it goes is there, even though I didn't like get my hands dirty or anything, I kind of want to like get my hand wiped. Yes, this is how I am. I'm very particular about washing hands. I always have these in my bag. And one good thing about one of these ex-boyfriends I had was like he washed his hands as much as me, and it just comforted me. So I like people who wash their hands, who are conscious of what they touch and all that. And I know it's weird to wipe my mouth with the rag that I wiped my hands with, but my hands aren't really dirty. just, it's just a thing. All right. So I'm going to say, like, my nose running and things, like, that's like me shedding in a way, right? And some of these things that we're going to talk about, you might think, like, oh, yeah, that would be nice, or, oh, yeah, I've seen a glimpse of that in myself, but, like, maybe you're shedding in order to embody it more fully, right? So some of those things that I'm going to talk about, you might be in that stage. So, if it resonates with you on any level, you can take that as a reflection for you. Okay? Okay, these are going to be our picks. Just some wire that I picked up at the dollar store. In case I wanted to get back into some wire wrapping crafts that I was doing before. I mean, like $1.25 for this. It's really a good price. 100 feet of 26 gauge wire. And I've had this kind before. It's not like the quality isn't poor or anything. So, all right. I mean, but it's not like copper or anything, right? Like I have bought wire that's copper, and that's kind of nice for some of the jewelry. But this is like, for decorative things, like, yeah. Anyway, pick one, pick two, pick three. Let's start with pick one. To wiping my hands after touching the wires. I've Palo Santo'd my cards, and if you see behind me, I've got this suitcase here. Here's the cards that I usually have right here on my desk. I've moved them over here so I could access the block box that sits behind them normally. So I'm probably going to pull some blocks. And then this suitcase is full of cards that I normally have packed away in my spare room. But I pulled them out so I could use some different decks that I hadn't used in a while. So that's what we're doing here. We're also going to ask a question, get the answer to a question with my answers deck. So you can be thinking of a question, or I'll give you a moment right before I get the answer to pause and formulate a question at that time. Can cancel that calendar event here. So you might be really good at prioritizing your time management. That event. You might be really good at shedding things that no longer serve you. Friendships, belongings, food that's expired. Um, what else? I have a pretty good aim. I keep getting it right in the barrel. Sometimes I don't, and I have to go pick them all up after. Um, so maybe you really do have good aim, right? Oh, your focus is your power. What you focus on is important, and you know it. And looking at my Hermes poster over here and just kind of thinking, okay, so that you're able to deliver messages in a way that is powerful, meaningful, accurate, poignant. I'm going to get a card from this deck while I kind of see if there's anything else coming to me. I don't think you try to hide things about you that others might be shameful of. I think you're more like, take me as I am or don't. But I think most people tend to take you as you are because you take them as they are. Like, you're not having high expectations, or like, I don't want to say that you have low standards or anything, but or you're not having expectations of other people that they need to fit some mold or be some certain way for you. Okay, you value things being balanced and fair. And when you sort of like navigate life through your intuition and your spirituality, I think you're measuring it against like what is right. What is right. I think you would maintain your integrity above most other choices and things, right? Like you're really hungry and you don't have any money and you go into a bakery and you could just like swipe a piece of bread or a loaf of bread and walk away unnoticed, but you would never. Like, your integrity is most important to you, and your integrity says that you'll maintain a living by your values, and your value says thou dost not steal. So I think you would like you wouldn't give up or anything. Like, maybe you'd go find some grubs and or if times were that desperate, or you would ask for a piece of bread or something in some sort of situation like this. But like you wouldn't do something that was unethical. And you really do have a good sense of it, right? So when I didn't want to use the word good, bad, or whatever, and I was kind of grappling over the word to use for what traits of yours we were going to describe in this reading. I don't think you I think you have a good sense of right and wrong, and that you would be able to decide if something was right or wrong. Service to spirit and strong ethical awareness are at the heart of mediumship. Ah, yes. So you're not going to put your biases in to a situation. Whenever you're offering evidential messages, they should always be delivered in a loving, kind, and healing manner. Like, these are things that you value: loving, kind, and healing. You don't want to It's like do no harm. That is something that you would value. Remain you remain conscious of what you're sharing. It should be relevant. Like you're not going to waste people's time with some sort of fluff or just getting their attention with a story. Authentic, like we talked about, like whatever it is, and meaningful. Like you see the meaning in things. Like you understand that your life is symbolic of who you are. So that means you may avoid being harmful, destructive, or hurtful. But I don't think it means that you wouldn't deliver a message that was difficult to hear. I think you would just do it in a way that was kind and that wasn't like, you would never be doing it out of spite or vindictive kind of vengeful way. A message should never be forced on the living or randomly given without permission. Yes, you're humble and respectful. It's important to respect the living and their desire to receive from spirit. So you may get impressions that you're not able to share at the time that they come to you, right? Like if you know, like you're getting an impression about something and the person that it's about is not, it may be helpful to them in your eyes or from your view, but you also know it's not helpful to them if they are not ready to hear it. So you kind of go to that bigger picture view and allow not just from the perspective that you're in, but the perspective that is the win-win-win for all. And in this way, you are serving spirit, allowing yourself to be a channel and maintain a high level of ethical awareness ensures mutual respect among the whole process. So what it takes to be this is to be very self-aware. You're a very self-aware person. So the reason why you can be authentic and show what others might think of as less desirable traits, if you do possess them, is because you've loved those parts of you too. You know, if you have something that you're working on, you're not holding it in a shameful hidden place while you work on it necessarily, right? It's like I've loved all of me, I've looked at all of me, I'm willing to look at all of me. And I think that like you would use the whole process of your experience to become more self-aware where appropriate. And you're willing to adapt as you learn more. Like if your perspective expands, you can adapt your way of being. And I feel like this is like something where you're willing to actively identify and eliminate your own biases. So these are really beautiful traits that, you know, say you were a person like cross-watching and you're like, oh, this isn't me, but I know who this is, right? Like, just because you don't possess these traits doesn't make you any less than a person who does. I would just want to, and this person would know that above all, right? Like, you would know that you're no better or worse than anyone else, that like this is just the perspective and the role that you're in. And that, you know, maybe even to get to this place, you've probably lived other lifetimes. it's possible that you've lived other lifetimes in a lot of other roles and a lot of other perspectives. And that's allowed you to come into balance, right? Seeing both sides of things. Cool. Really beautiful. You may have Libra traits, right? You may have Libra heavy in your chart. This is also like scales of justice. I just heard like spirit may use you to bring justice to situations. So I don't know what that means exactly. But justice is when it's like things come out fair and just, but this isn't for our human perspective to decide, right? Like what looks like justice, it's in the eyes of spirit. It's not like, oh, that person like stepped on my foot, now they should stub their toe. It's like, well, we don't know if we stepped on someone's foot accidentally without even knowing some other time, like it's not about like us keeping score. It's about us honoring that there is a divine orchestration. And you would have to really respect and know that. Also, see the ripples around the water. So the water is significant for emotions, and like I think that you do make people feel things. The people around you will feel, excuse me, strongly about things, and I think they wonder how you could do it. How can you do that? How can you just hold yourself in that manner? But it's not. It's just very natural for you. It's just very ode to spirit kind of living that you're doing. And it's because you are able to sit in and be a channel of feelings, of emotions, of things that are unseen. And at the same time looking at it from a higher vantage point, a higher point of view. Okay, let's keep going. This might be one of those nice longer readings. Let's see. I mean, I feel like we got a lot off that card, and I could maybe just do the whole reading on just using those cards for each pile, but let's see what else we got. I'm using the Spirit of the Animals Oracle deck. I guess this would be like a knockoff. Maybe it's not very ethical to do that, to buy knockoffs. Yeah, I don't know if you would do that. Okay. I'm gonna have to probably put on some glasses, maybe have some light. Humpback whale. Singer. Alright. I'm going to wash these glasses now. It's my little white bee. wondering if I need to get stronger with these glasses or what. I don't see a little bit better. Song healing songs for the world. Sing healing songs for the world. Your inner navigation always guides you. It's like you're doing what's in harmony with you and your integrity and your body and your connection to spirit. Nothing can stop you or keep you from your good, from your God, from your goal. I have to say it's all three, since I couldn't quite see the word, right? From your good, your God, and your goal. Because your focus is so, like, your target. You put your focus on your target. Align with your purpose and the power in your soul. See all this water? This water is not doing like calm ripples, right? So I feel like when things get a little bit chaotic, you're still able to navigate in that way where you can ride the waves, right? Like you can stay above. Like this whale is not in the least bit intimidated by the fact that there's waves everywhere. And so even though you maintain this nice equilibrium and stillness and calm, I think it comes from having navigated and understood the probably through the contrast excuse me, of what that is and what that isn't for you and what it feels like, right? So like it's like having dealt with chaotic things in life, and by contrast understanding what that feels like in your soul. And you can actually navigate very chaotic things and still stay in harmony with yourself and stay and maintain your integrity. And that is something that you've learned to do because you value doing it, and because also it's like, I feel like it's sort of like, well, why wouldn't you do that? Interesting. Oh, shoot. Just like popped that deck and made my nose red again. Let's get one of these cards. I don't like keeping the glasses on because I don't want my eyes to like think we need them. But yeah, it just feels like wrong to keep them on. So I like to give my eyes back. I like to tell my eyes like, hey, come back into like, we don't need that tool. And like what tells me that is my body, right? So you are listening to your body and you're respecting and like maybe like assisting yourself where needed, but also like totally in faith of the human spirit and the body's ability to heal itself. Just waiting for one of these cards to pop out for us, so you're probably very patient. Like I don't feel like you are concerned that it's taking a minute. trust and act accordingly. Ooh. Card number 30. Yeah, really confident, able to trust yourself, know that you're seeing what you need to see, right? Like, I don't think you would waver too much in a lack of self-trust. So this means, like, you're not someone who's getting anxious or anything. See this rainbow around the eye? Like, that tells me you're able to consider a lot of things, like all the things on a lot of different layers, with maybe without even having to analyze, with just looking, and you know if it's in harmony or not. There may be reasons and times when you need to analyze, but I don't think that's like something you'd get caught up in, because I think you're maintaining your state above that place, right? So third dimension, we're experiencing our program. Fourth dimension, we're able to analyze our program and see it for what it is, and have these kind of instant feedbacks and a lot of symbolism and things like that. And that's where we can get, I almost said stuck, but that's where we can do our analyzing. And then if you wanted to be above that, the fifth dimension is kind of like living in presence. So now you're observing all of that stuff. Like you would maybe tend to observe some feelings and emotions, observe the mind's desire to understand, and then go to the need to understand only if needed, right? Otherwise, I think you would, if it's appropriate and it would feel right within your body, then you would just take it as you see it, given the wisdom and experience you've already had, and observe it. Right? It's like, what's an example of this? Okay, so it's like trust and act accordingly. All right, I'm gonna do it like this. So I don't know why this example is coming, but like, say you drove by and there was like a loose dog on the road, and he was just like trotting along, and it was kind of like a back road or whatever, and the houses were few and far between, right? And he looked like, he was on his way to somewhere, but like, now a person who was living through the lens of fear, like maybe just seeing life through the red, so they were very like 3D linear, stuck in that view of lower density. Their view would be clouded by a lot of fears, and so they might see this dog as needing to be rescued, right? And so they might like try to capture the dog and distract the dog from where it was going, and then like end up taking the dog to the pound and posting pictures on the internet and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that's wrong, okay? Okay. And the next person, like say there was another person in same scenario, they're coming down the road, and maybe they have a passenger with them, and then they're like, they pass by the dog, and then they kind of like go, ooh, I wonder if that dog needs help. Do you think that dog needs help? Yeah, I don't know. And then like they get home and they haven't like done anything about that dog except for wonder if they should have stopped to get that dog, and like all the things that could have happened, and all the things that could go wrong, and all the reasons why it would have been right or wrong, and like considering all these things. And now their mind is like busy wondering if they should have taken another action, right? Thinking about all these scenarios on what could have been going on and what would have been the appropriate way to act. Okay, and then like this, so more the view of you, so you kind of having wisdom from past experiences, maybe you've been in both of those experiences before, and or just heard other people's stories or whatever. So you drive by, you see this dog, and you feel it in your body, what you observe how your body feels about it. And your body says, well, this dog is perfectly happy trotting along on a little walk. and he seems to be going somewhere. And there's nothing in my body that's saying stop and help. There's no message here. There's no symbology that kind of tells me that something isn't right. And I trust that. I observe that. I observe my body, my environment, the other experience, and I see that spirit is not giving me any indication. My highest self is not giving me any indication that I need to intervene in this situation. So I will trust that, because I trust my body and I know my body is an indicator to me, and I will act accordingly, which means I will just travel along on my way. Maybe I would wish that dog well and say, nice to see you, happy you're having a nice little walk, and go along the day without getting stuck in analysis or questioning self on whether I did the right thing or whether you did the right thing or not, right? So it's like that. It's like navigating life through this lens of like wisdom. Because, so say God needed you for something else that day, right? Say God actually was having you travel along the road because there was actually someone that did need your help up further along, or when you got to your destination. There was someone that you were going to be there behind them in line to give them the extra couple dollars they were short on buying groceries for their kids. And had you stopped to mess with this dog, you would have missed that person. And that's the one that God really wanted you to help. You know, it's like being one with the universe, being in your flow state and really trusting self. And that, like, this is something that, if you're not already doing this, this is where you're headed, or, you know, I bet you are. I bet you're already doing this because you have everything you need to do this. And living life in this way is just a beautiful experience. It feels good, right? And you're not doing things because they feel good necessarily, right? Because it doesn't mean you won't do difficult things. Because if God, led you to a situation where there was a car crash and you needed to like be with someone and hold their hand for their last moments of taking breath on this earth, you would do that too. It's not that you're, only willing to experience the things that are pleasant and light and good by definitions of some. You know what I mean? It's like you know that you're doing what you're meant to do by the way it feels in your body, and you trust that. And someone who didn't have that kind of wisdom and that trust in life and themselves, because trusting self translates to trusting life. If someone who didn't have that might flounder on being able to hold that person's hand as they take their last breath, or being able to make the decision to follow their intuition when their intuition says, don't take your usual route today. I like this because like this reminds me of just how great it feels to live that from that place. It feels beautiful to be used as a servant of God. You know what I mean? Okay. Let's get a card from this deck. It's another animal deck. Secret language of animals. That's my very first deck. And it was gifted to me. You may be very good at receiving, because you're receiving your impulses from within. You're understanding if those without can receive what you have to offer or not. And the reason why I said that is because like this deck was gifted to me. It's my very first deck because it was gifted to me. And it just feels so generous, right? Because I don't know what this cost, but probably right here on the back. I just heard the song by the Allman Brothers, I'm no angel. And I feel like that's true for you too, right? Like you wouldn't walk and consider yourself angelic necessarily, but you are. And this does not say a price, but it just didn't resonate with its former owner, its first owner. And she just happens to be a very generous person. And I mean, I don't think I think she just follows her intuition, right? And so she was intuitively prompted to gift this deck to me, which started me on the experience of having all these cards, like a lot of cards, right? And a lot of the things that I've made, for myself, tools that I've indulged in. So, okay, wood. You might be a woodworker, or that might be something that's important or valuable or, just appealing to you. And I kind of want to say that I relate to that because, like, even though it's much less now, like in my very first apartment, the decor I implemented, well, bunnies was one of my decor, but then wood was added in. And then eventually, not as many like wood things, but I do have wood things around still because I really like wood. Okay, growth, connection, support, and renewal. Ooh, yeah, you're really good at starting new things, and you'll take the time to set it up in a way where it has good roots. You'll build on solid foundations. So you're not building on any of those like lower density reasons, like what seems successful to society at large and things that we've been sold by marketing and programming on television and just like powers that be have deemed important. It's not what you build on at all. You build on the win-win-win. You build on what is in harmony with your soul. So I feel like what you build ends up being really fruitful and solid and also a representation of who you are. And it's very like nourishing for yourself and others. And like your footprint is all over it. Like, or at the base of it at least, right? Like it might not be immediately recognizable that you are at the foundation of it for all, but like it. People who really look at it would know it. And I think that what that does is it puts cracks in the foundation of what is not true. Like you stand for truth, and what is not true cannot stand in the face of this truth, right? See all the cracks in the background and stuff. Also, you will get by on very little sustenance. Like that seed ideally would have a lot more to grow on, but like it's growing on a piece of wood. It doesn't have soil. Make something out of nothing, I kind of heard. All right, and then this other one, oh, salmon. And that, about salmons, they swim upstream. So here's more water. It says faith, determination, independence, and change. At the right time in their lives, they swim up the river to lay their spawn, to spawn their little eggs or whatever. And this is effort, but they wouldn't, nothing else would do. Like, this is what they are meant to do. It's like this growth being rooted onto some wood. It's like, that's not usual, you know? I've seen some people like mix sand in with the soil when they plant carrots just to make it easier for the carrot to grow through, right? Like, it's like, that's not required in your life because you're equipped to do the thing that seems impossible almost. That seems very difficult. That seems like, why would you make it so hard on yourself? Or, like, if some people didn't know, like, that you were built for it, it might look to them like you were never making progress even. Or that the progress you were making wasn't worthwhile with all the effort you were putting in. Like, put you in between a rock and a hard place and it's fine. Like, you'll be fine. Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna get a couple blocks here. The Allman Brothers song is really ringing in my head still. I'm no angel. I forget all the words. Family is very important to you. You love your family. Oh my gosh, it came out twice. Family came out twice for you. And no, I did not know family was in here twice, so that's interesting. I must have put them in at different times when I added different stages of these blocks, see? The red blocks have to do with love. That's why I know you love your family. And you love, like, families. You love that that family is a thing. And I don't even, it doesn't necessarily even mean your blood family, the family you were raised in, but like living like a family means like supporting each other, looking out for each other, enjoying time together, and growing and learning together. Choice. And this is interesting because these blocks have to do with choices. Maybe you know that there's always a choice. In the past, maybe it was difficult for you to make decisions. So I think that's something that you've changed. I think oftentimes you will disagree with what is being shown to you or told to you. I feel like maybe your mind automatically considers the other side of things, right? And I don't think it means you actively set out to disagree or put anyone in their place with it. I just think like this is a observational process. Discover you have a good mind that will, if you do want to go into the contemplation state, you're very adept at doing so. Opinions. You don't mind sharing what your thoughts are. And if there's two sides of what you think, you'll share that too. You're not invested in being right. In fact, I think probably you value what the other person's perspective is too. And you know that it is just an opinion based on a perspective, yours included from where you're standing, right? Even though you've tuned your vessel to spirit, you know that spirit is doing that for everybody to the degree they allow it. And some may be better tuned or somebody may be less tuned, and like that's all good, right? Because that's the perspective they're meant to be in. And every perspective is valuable. Okay. So now we're going to answer a question from the answers deck. So if you have a question, I'm going to pull a card to get the answer. And if you need more time, just pause. Oh. Well, too many came out, but something that I saw twice is surrender. So this, I just want to give you a heads up on, this might be something that you're not meant to know the answer right now. You're meant to surrender, meaning like, this is something I can't control. This is something that I'm not meant to know at this time, at least. Maybe it'll become clear to me later. There might be some sort of unknown risk for me knowing, right? Like I might influence something in some way, or there's a reason. So it's asking you to walk in faith and surrender your need or want to know or control. And I feel like, given what we've looked at, this is something that's you're capable of doing. Because you like to, what was that, like, you like to look at things and figure things out, though, like, you are capable of being analytical. So I think, sometimes it is fun to figure things out, and so I think that's why you would ask anyway, right? Like, you're still a human. I wet my fingers and then I mostly dry them before I do this. Make money. It did come in reverse. Like maybe making money is not the most important thing. I'm brought to this moment where, and then it says much later. Make money is in reverse and then much later. So I was brought to this moment where I was meeting my ex-boyfriend's mother. Maybe I'd met her a few times, and we were talking about, I was sharing, for whatever reason, I don't remember how the conversation came to it, if I was just being friendly, but I was sharing what I wanted to do. And I think at that time it was like, I was saying like, it was some humanitarian effort where I wanted to help people become aware of and free of their limitations. And she said, well, how are you going to make money at that? And I said, well, it's not about making money, and then afterwards, like, when no one else was around, I just went to her. I was like, hey, just in case you were worried, like, I'm not like expecting him to support me or anything. Like, I have my own money, and that's not why I'm not worried about making money, because I think he's gonna have to take care of me or something. Because I was thinking like maybe that's what she was worried about, like that I would be too dependent on her son if I was focused on more humanitarian efforts. And she said, oh, no, she wasn't worried about it or whatever. But I think her mindset was just that of like, this is Earth. We have to survive here. And part of that is making money and taking responsibility. And I get that. I totally get that. And like, my mindset was just kind of like, well, I'm following God's kind of thing. And if I had to live under a bridge, I would, like, that's where I was at. Like, thankfully, that isn't the case in this lifetime, at least this far, right? Although I have had to live in my car, I have been homeless, I have been on the streets with my 3 kids. And it was a very difficult time mostly because it was before I even knew about God or spirituality or my connection to all. It was just one of those experiences that lent toward me waking up. Like waking up, yeah. I was just living out the program of, my life earlier on. So, yeah, it's not that I'm clueless about that, but like, I feel like, I don't know how that would tie to the answer that you're looking for. But maybe it's just giving you a clue about the answer in a way that I wouldn't understand because I'm not clear on what the question is. Because I'm not asking what the question is, right? Okay. I'm just asking for the answer. All right. I'm sure that you can make sense of it. Pick one. And remember, this is just information for you to reflect on. And I hope that it is helpful to you. I'm going to move on to the next one. I picked two. I feel like I don't want to forget the things that are coming through as I get ready to start your pile, so I'm just going to start rambling them off before they leave my mind forever, while I kind of get ready here. So, you are very intelligent, strategic, discerning. You don't just take people at face value. You might even be suspecting. You cover your bases, right? Like you just in case that person isn't honest, you've got your back covered anyway. Like, and you do it yourself. So you're really independent, but you're also hardy, like resilient, and like you get the job done, and adaptable maybe too. Like you'll fit into whatever environment you're in. You might be drawn to wearing black, right? Because I was wearing a black shirt and I got hot, and so I went to change into a tank top, and like I was reaching for a black shirt, and like I don't actually personally wear black very often. I actually prefer not to wear black, which is contrary to a younger version of me. I mean, I'm not like, I don't hate black or anything. I just feel like for me at this stage, black is something that absorbs color more, and absorbs energy more. So I tend to kind of go for the lighter colors. But that wouldn't be something that stopped you. Like if there's something that makes things harder, like if it's the hard way, and you've got to go through it, you're like, I'll do that. And also, you may prefer having a certain level of color in your life, because like I did some things around the yard and ended up like hanging. You can't see it now, but you might at some point in the reading, hanging a tapestry there, and then like, what was behind it? Oh, I have like a back a bag that goes with my paddleboard against my railing, which I kind of propped up so that it could dry out a little bit too, because these things got caught in the rain. So, and then I noticed that like the background had a lot more color in it, and I don't prefer that. I like pastels and white and things like that. But I think you maybe do prefer like the vibrancy of variety and color and things like that. Okay, so those were some things that were coming to me right off the bat about you. There might be something else that'll come back. So, yeah, very like discerning, smart, street smart, I want to say. Looking for the motives of people, maybe, and sometimes. And so, like, smart in psychology. And while I kind of ponder this some more, I'm going to shuffle these cards and see if we can get one. So we're on pick two, in case you wanted to be reminded of that. What color pick two is. You want to like sniff out the fake, right? Like you're skeptical. You're very like would test it out and experiment. And I also think you're open-minded though, right? Like you're open to understanding, but like you're not going to ignore red flags. Oh, we got a card. You indulge in the fun part of life, and maybe you really like sunbathing or you work in the sun, or, like I don't even think that you would even be someone who would apply sunblock necessarily. Maybe the way you eat regulates, how well your skin handles the rays of sun. You have like really adept and sensitive nervous system. Okay, and that's served you well. You're not averse to getting your information from wherever it comes from. You will take other points of view into perspective. You might actually be, even though I think you would really thrive in an extroverted situation, I think you might, or at least some of you may be introverts, where you replenish by going inward and, into your own space. You have so many transformations under your belt, like just constantly growing, learning. Let some mosquitoes in my house when I opened the door for a while, so I've got to just stay diligent. Yeah, like you stay diligent. Maybe you do feel touched or guided by God. Like you keep your head up in a certain regality. Like you do hold yourself in high esteem. And you do know that you're valuable, like that maybe you have a lot of charisma and your energy is in like what is sought after, like, and you know that people want you around. You're very creative, but I think it goes unnoticed by some. It's like it's in the background of what you all enjoy, but maybe people wouldn't even realize that you created that. You made sure that that could grow there. You may really resonate with like the sun gods, Apollo, Jupiter. I don't know why I said Jupiter because he's sort of lightning, but it's just this like great jovial influence that you have on the environment you're in. It's like what you add to things makes the things grow. This is the card I'm looking at. So even though you may be an introvert, I think you're very adept at being in extroverted situations too. I know I've said that, but I'm reiterating it because it's like you are a gift to the world in a way. What you have to offer feels like a gift. Maybe you're very generous and you do give gifts as a way to express yourself. Your work is about offering love, support, healing, and blessings from spirit. Like maybe you know that what you're giving is not just from you, but I think there might have been a time where your ego did kind of claim it, but now maybe you realize it's more like, your connection to spirit flowing through you. When spirit sends you a sign to rest and rejuvenate, then you take the time. And perhaps you've even had to make a conscious effort to receive because you are so giving. So that caused you to be able to come into balance, right? And that's why you're able to kind of sustain for so long and be so resilient and be willing to do the gritty stuff, because you did it all before you even started taking time to replenish yourself. Like, you know that your stamina will sustain you. But I think out of respect, you do honor yourself and let yourself rest much more these days. Maybe after, being willing to go sacrifice for so long to run yourself into the tired places, feeling drained, and then that's just like brought you in the wisdom to realize, okay, well, if I do this in a more balanced way, honoring me, then when I honor the others, and then when spirit uses me, I can sustain even longer. And it was like a logical, strategy that brought you to it, because I think that you would, your spirit just wants to give. So yeah, so part of your process was learning, and now being an inspiration to others, being an example to others, that replenishing yourself is so important, right? You become a much more, just like all the things you already were, much more happy, much more giving, much more fun to be around, much more charismatic, when you have rested, much more vital. And this also strengthens your connection to spirit, because it's like you started listening to spirit instead of just like taking the one first impetus and going the whole length of the way with that. Now I think you will also adjust course as needed, because you're in tune with spirit on each step of the way, where you don't have to go so far into the desert without resources, right? Like you're kind of, but like the experiences that you had where you, before you kind of came into more balance, were helpful in knowing yourself and knowing your spirit to be so vital and resilient and strong, hardy. And this need to rest doesn't make any of that any less, right? And it's just like a rejuvenation and a recharge for these transformations to happen, right? With those butterflies. It's vital. Like the butterfly goes into the cocoon and turns to goo, right? And then what the butterfly is afterwards is something that is just so different from what it was before, that it's like, it's not questioned on whether it was worthwhile or anything, Like there's no doubt about you hadn't been wasting your time. It's part of it, and it's a gift that spirit gives to you. And it puts you in the space where you do cultivate this relationship with spirit even more. And this doesn't mean that you're just still, because I think you do have a lot of energy and you want to go. And so even your rest might be like you're reading, or you're going for a walk in the woods, or you're going to just kind of chill with friends, right? It just means that you're not as much in the masculine energy, that you're allowing yourself to receive too. Receive knowledge, receive replenishment, receive appreciation. You may have adopted yoga, meditation, or just like amped up your self-care, like maybe you gave yourself a makeover, or, stuff like that. Maybe you've learned to do that on a regular basis. Or going to another healer and getting like energy work or body work or massage or things like that. And also like this has lent to the space where you know that inside of you has something to say too, right? And you're willing to listen. And you just know this is what you need to do. And when it's time to act again and go back to work and there's something to be accomplished, you'll do that, right? This isn't like you're a slacker and now you'll never go back to being busy again. It's like, no, like, oh, I bet you could be a projector. So if we look at human design, there are 5 energy types, 5 different ways the energy will work in a human. And the projector's energy is about 22% of the population are what is called projector. And projector means that it's the advisor. So the projector advises generators, which are 70% of the population, who recognize them as having something to offer. So I'm a projector, right? Those who recognize that I have a reflection to offer them will pay attention. And those that I'm not meant to reflect to won't, and sometimes the ones that will pay attention are paying attention without admitting to themselves that they're doing it because it's divinely guided, and that's all fine. And then 40% of people don't care either way. But there'll be that 30% that I am meant to have something to offer at some point, and they're usually strangers. Most often strangers. So you might have something like this where you're a projector. You'll find that your biggest impact can sometimes be with strangers. Not always. It depends on the profile that you have in human design as well, right? My profile just dictates that it would be more strangers that can, because it's like what I'm doing is piercing in so deeply. And people I know don't really like that because then they feel naked around me. And if they're not someone like me who wants to get naked, then that feels uncomfortable to them, and then it's awkward in our relationship. So sometimes I've known that if I do a reading for someone and can see them so deeply and offer them some insight that's so deep, we often part ways afterwards because there's something that happens where they don't like being exposed that much. So I've kind of seen that, more so I'm speaking to a perfect stranger where I can get in there and say the thing that's just coming naturally, not strategically formulated, but that's just me. And then we're walking away and this person maybe sits with that, energy that I've pointed out to them for a while and figures it out on their own without us having to have further interactions. But that's just my profile is a 6-2, and other people's profiles might be something more like interpersonal relationships where they're just talking to their family members and friends, or they're not talking to anybody. They're just being an example. So different ones work different ways, but projectors all have this ability to give insights. So projectors are also not, the reason that they're defined as projectors when you look at how energy is working is they don't have a defined motor. Meaning generators, who are 70% of the population and who always have a motor to work towards what they're responding to in their environment, right? There's something that needs to be done. They respond to that need. And whereas if a projector tried to live that way, they will not be able to sustain it. Projectors absolutely do not have a motor. If they're going to work in a laborious job, they're definitely going to get burnt out and run down if they don't work alongside a generator or a manifesting generator who has a motor, and they'll actually be utilizing that person's motor. So yes, they can work hard. Yes, they have good stamina. Yes, I mean, I can work really hard. I have a lot of strength, but it's for a short period of time for the most part. My sister the other day was lifting up this skidoo. Skidoo, is that the appropriate way to talk about it? Sea craft that goes on the water. And it was on its trailer, and she was lifting it to like dump the water off it. She had been washing it, and it looked like she was really struggling. And I'm a little bit taller than her, and I was like, "Hey, do you want me to help you with that?" She's like, "Sure, if you can." And so I lifted, and I just like lifted it up off her, and like taller, and like, the rest of the way that she couldn't get to. Now my sister is very strong. I've never seen her not be able to do something. She's an Aries. She's got good stamina. She has muscles. She can get things done. She is a generator. But for that, she's like, "Wow, you're strong." And I was like, "Yeah, for short periods of time," right? Like, because I couldn't sustain that. If she wanted me to hold that for more than like 5 seconds or something, like, that's not gonna happen for me. Another time, for the very first time I was blowing up my paddleboard, my sister was helping me because we were trying to use the air compressor to do it, because it comes with a hand pump, but the air compressor would have been much nicer. But my air compressor, it needed a special nozzle, and I didn't know that paddle boards needed a special nozzle because it was my first time. And so she was like looking and to see if she had a special nozzle that would work, and no, she didn't. So we ended up using an air pump to the best of our ability by like, cupping it and holding it together to get a lot of air in there. But we knew that wasn't going to sustain it with the pressure, because you need to get the PSI up to 15 on a paddleboard typically. And so then we had to switch to the hand pump. So I do the hand pump for a while, and I'm like dying, right? Like, I'm just like, there's no way I could do this every time I want to use this paddleboard. I will not live. And then she finished it up, and she went for a lot longer than me, you know? So she had sustaining energy. She's a generator, and I'm a projector, so I only had like bursts of energy. So it was a good team work, right? But like, that's just how projectors work. And I kind of got this impression that your energy is working in such a way that you probably didn't know this, right? So that's why you probably learned that you are really resilient, that you can hold it up for a long time, right? Like me, like it took a while before I dropped out of trying to keep up, with others, because I was pretty determined and stuff. But then when I let myself honor the way I am, even if people don't understand it, even if they expect me to be other than I am, God, life just got a lot better, right? So then I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll just do for and I'll honor what my body needs, and honor what my experience is telling me about how to care for myself. And I feel like that's where you've brought yourself to. Like, I don't know, think I'm in it anymore, but I used to be in a projector group on Facebook, and one of the things that people would always post is memes about sleeping. And so they say projectors, they'll just like need to sleep a lot. So you may have found yourself when it was when you finally let yourself rest, you may have gone through a period where it was like you were in a cocoon because you really needed to rest. And especially healing happens when we're still of our nervous system. And we did say that your nervous system was really sensitive, right? So healing of the nervous system is happening when we're still. And and when you are meant to act, you will have the energy to act, right? Like, you won't be like, oh, I need to do this. And so when I want to do something, when I have something to do, like it comes into my awareness and I don't have the energy for it, I know it's not time to do it. And then I just wait until the impetus within me, my energy body says, yeah, we can do that now. And I feel like you understand your whole life as if like you're following your sense of purpose. You know that there is something here guiding you, that that you are willing to be in the process. You're willing to be still when needed. You're willing to act when needed. You're willing to be inspired, and you are now willing to receive and prioritize self-care. and not need to know so much about the future. Like you might have vague impressions of the future without really needing to dig in and understand it, or like, you know, maybe you've been surrounded by people who did not care for themselves very well either. Yeah, this could be a thing too that inspired you, and maybe through seeing the result of that, it really inspired you to focus more on self-care. Okay. Whew. I think you're really innovative. Like you'll consider how you can handle a situation that will also not just benefit you, not just like solve the any issue that you're facing, but like that will also solve it for others. Like you'll leave things better than you found them. You might be a person who would pick up something that fell off a shelf at the store and just put it back. You might be a person that would pick up trash when you're walking on the road. Raven shaman. Ah, yes, the shaman. Earth shaman. You are the creation. You are the creator and the magician. Use your gifts for good. Yes, you do this. There is power in your wisdom and words. Oh, yeah, I was just brought to this thing that I once said about someone when I was doing a reading. It was actually Johnny Depp. And the reading wasn't for him, it was for fun, and it's on my channel if you want to check it out. But what I had said about him, I think it's true for you as well. Maybe you've noticed the impact that your words have. And maybe because of that, you do use caution when you choose your words. Connect with the elemental spirits. You connect with the elemental spirits and glide through the void. The void is the unknown. The void is the limitless potential that exists. The void is the neutrality where all things exist. You claim your place as keeper of the mysteries. You know how I said, like, you know, a vagueness about the future, but you don't try to dig in and find out what it is. And it's like, that's one way you keep the mystery alive. And maybe you really appreciate the beauty of that, of not knowing. Ooh, yeah. I just got this impression of trickster energy, and here's the magician. So, like, the magician is like the higher version of a trickster. So, I think you understand that there's a juiciness about life because of this concept of mystery. And it's like the doorway to the doorway to the all, the unknown, the limitless possibility is where you stand. Maybe like a gray walker. You can walk in the light or the dark and not judge either. You know that you could be bad, but you choose to be good if we were using those labels. And the reason why I put that in quotations, and I think this would be something you know, but like in case you're cross-watching and recognizing this as someone that you know, I would say like about this person, it's like they know that sometimes what others would deem as good is bad, and sometimes what others would deem as bad is good, right? Like that yin and yang symbol there with there's a little light in the dark and a little dark in the light. Like this person, you recognize that very well. Able to recognize symbology, able to give yourself the bigger picture of whatever challenges you're going to face. Maybe that's why you're so willing to go through the challenge. I kind of feel like there's a lot that's beyond me that you have access to, meaning like I'm limited to even describe you fully. I guess that's true for anyone, but I could feel it about you. Let's get one of these cards. Yeah, like for me, I like that, right? Like I want to talk to people who know more than me, or who are aware more than me, or know that they don't know more than me, kind of thing, you know? Those that are the teacher and the student, always, eternally, and whose conversation, presence, or energy would just enlighten me, may challenge me. I love all that. Like personally, I get a little like that about talking with people about their problems over and over again and stuff. And maybe you would even like not even be in that space about it. You would maybe like observe the people and maybe like notice different things about it each time they said it or something. Like, you know, like I'm inspired by that thought actually. So I think maybe I would adopt that from you. And I'm inspired by you doing that, you see? So you really are a gift to this world. An important example, right? Because like I don't get, there's not a lot. I was cutting myself off from important examples, which can be found anywhere, which is what I'm realizing by this thing about you. I made my world smaller by not having that in place as part of my operating system. Ooh, cool. This is why I like doing readings too. It's not just about uncovering people's shadows, it's about being inspired and enlightened by people. You're one of those people who enlightens people. Just, you're probably at the stage where you come into like contact with twin rays, like 7 people in your life that when you have contact with them, your life changes forever. Like you're a twin ray of people. Maybe me. Oh, I feel like just chills and goodness. Good energy. It's good energy. Yeah, I can see why would people sought after your energy and just want to be around you. It feels good. Is there one of these cards that can give us some more? I feel like you're content. Like you're just like, it's great, thanks. You know, you're like you're not here to try to feed your ego necessarily or whatever, right? Maybe you've been realizing that's not very important to you anymore. those mosquitoes might be on my back. You have your own back. I don't think one of these cards wants to come out. Oh. It's a surprise! Oh, close your eyes to open your heart. Lucky number 7. Not my lucky number, but maybe yours. Oh, and I just said 7 twin rays, right? Maybe you've met 4 of them, of your twin rays. Okay. Yeah, you've already passed through the stage of needing to analyze. You know things are not always what they seem. And then that's just a perspective that you're experiencing, and that I think you would really get that concept that I shared about us being experiencing a point of the fractal as our perspective, each of us. Right? Because like, look at these eyes, and if you didn't see it as 2 faces, you can kind of see how this looks like the fractal, the Mandelbrot, in a way. If you look that up, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I have that a video about that, which is something, oh, I wish I remembered what it was called. You know how you watch those YouTube videos and they're like, oh, I'll reference that video in the description. Like, I always think, like, how the hell do they know what they called that video to reference it? Like, it would take me a long time to sift through my videos to figure out which one I'm talking about. So if you haven't been following along and I say something like, oh, remember when I talked about this, and you are curious to know more about it, it's like, use your own intuition and let it guide you to the right video, and use my videos as an oracle. Okay? And you can kind of do that with anything, because we are part of a fractal, right? Because a fractal is something that's repeating over and over and over again, a pattern within itself, just like on perpetual, like a torus, like just repeating over and over again. Something has opened your heart. Oh, getting comfortable with the unknown, walking into the, foggy future, has allowed you to open your heart and maybe let it lead you. Okay. Let's get one of these. Oh, dragonfly. Magic, spontaneity, immediacy, and change. You will hop to the task if it's time. This is number 30. Angels come to mind, like maybe there's a reference to angels in your life. Maybe it's been an important influence for you. Archangel Michael, for instance. You know that not just what your eyes see is relevant. You're willing to feel into and interpret the signs and symbols that you're brought to. And you're willing to take inspiration from other people and what they have grown and put their focus on and invested in. Maybe after experimentation or just like discernment, you would rest on something built on a foundation of someone else. So collaborating is possible for you. Maybe you feel like you've done a lot of the hard work in your life, and now that's why it's like, okay, I can rest in this part of my life. This segment of my life is going to be more about this balanced place where I get to honor me too. And you learned a lot from the other segment too, but like it's nice to be in this segment. And I lost it. Oh, it was that I was going to say, like, if you're not here already, all these things I've said, or some of these things I've said, like, this is where you're headed, right? Because this dragonfly came up through the mud in the water, went through the emotions. So there, at some point, you have traversed some very chaotic or tumultuous, like what would have seemed like ocean storms, which were not funny at the time, I'm sure. But it inspired you. On the earth, but not of it. But you kind of feel like you could be of it too, right? Like you've had a lot of perspectives in this lifetime. You have access to a lot of air energy too, like intellect and analyzing is all option for you if you needed it. Okay. Yeah, I feel like that's good for now. And then let's get the answer to your question. If you have a question, you can pause if you need more time. If this brought you a question, or you just want to think of something for fun, or if you've had a burning question, I feel like, in general, you might be in a place where you haven't been trying to figure things out so much, but you are still a human, so there might be something you're curious about. First choice. So if you had choices to make, it says first choice, or first, you could say, is the answer, or choice is the answer, meaning like you have a choice. I can't. This could be I can't give you the answer, but make this fit to whatever your question was. I can't make that choice for you. What's holding you back? Thinking that you can't. Thinking that you have a choice. Pretending you have a choice as a way to hold you off from taking the action. All right, I'm going to let that go and assume that you will know, right? Okay, beautiful. Pick two. Thank you. Remember, it's just information to reflect on. And I'm going to move on to pick three. Okay, pick three. I feel like you can work in extreme circumstances, like even if you were really hungry, you would still get your work done. I think maybe you've been to therapy. It could have even been as a child, like family therapy or whatever. But you sort of take everything as feedback for yourself about your life. You would be someone who could do a reading from the clouds, right? Like let the clouds speak to you in messages and symbols. Maybe you notice glitches in the matrix, like you're very perceptive when something isn't cohesive or when something is like a glitch, like that, like out of place, or might be very clued into things when they're out of place. And out of place, maybe from the last time you saw them or from what feels appropriate. Like maybe it is even, or has in the past, maybe in the past it was like OCD kind of stuff, but maybe you now evolved to understand like that it's just like you have an ability to like really like tune into things. So maybe at some point you had to change how you think about those things that you're tuned into and what it means. In reading the story of your life, maybe it inspired you to change the story, to write new chapters that were more something that you wanted to live out. I think you're willing to make the best out of, like, make something out of nothing, make the best out of what might not seem ideal to others. Yeah, I kind of get that feeling like when something's out of place, it is bothersome to you. Like mismatched clothing, things like that might really be like, no. Like I heard, like you wouldn't even wear mismatched like underwear and bra if you wear those kind of pieces of clothing. You wouldn't wear two different socks, like some people do that very easily. All right, let's take the card and see. At different points in your life, you've seen things at different ways, and so you understand that, oh, this is a theme that I was thinking about yesterday and earlier about my readings, and like maybe this is something that you understand about life too. And it's that depending on what lens you look at it through, it dictates how you're going to see it and what it means to you. Because I was noticing that I was talking to a friend yesterday, and it's actually someone that I realized we've grown apart, but I was still, like, this person wasn't quite ready to accept that maybe. So I was just kind of working with them on it and still having a conversation, but really in the conversation what became most apparent to me was, though I love this person, though I care about this person, though I've enjoyed my time with this person in the past, this person is not on the same page as me anymore, because what I was saying to this person, whereas before we would be able to relate and our conversation would bring us both higher, it was like dull notes for me, like where everything I said was being brought down a level instead of up. And that was not my experience in the past, and that is how I know, like, we've outgrown each other, because this is like the third time trying to have conversations that went this way, and trying to express, like, this to the person spurred them to maybe like want to latch on more, want to understand it. Maybe I wasn't trying to hurt the person. But I had designated time to have these conversations, and I was kind of realizing that it wasn't really something that we should continue doing. And not that I wanted to get rid of this friend, but sometimes friends ebb and flow. Sometimes you take space. Sometimes you're not in somebody's life every day just because of where your life is, and it doesn't mean anything bad about either of you, right? That's where I was kind of at with it. But again, the conversation that I was trying to decide that I didn't want to keep having these conversations, again, the conversation proved to me that we were just in different places, and I knew that's because of the perspective that this person is at. They are seeing through a certain lens that is gonna keep them at the level they're at, and I'm not saying that that's wrong or that they're lesser or it's lower, but it is a lower density than where I'm looking from, because I can see where they're coming from, and that's why I have compassion for it, right? It's not like I'm an opposing view or anything. It's like, oh yeah, that's valid from that view. But as far as an investment of my time on that conversation, it was kind of but and I'm not saying that, maybe you can relate to that, but what my major point was is that I think you understand that people will see what they want to see. People will see a reflection of themselves through whatever, So you know that for yourself, and you know that when you're conversing with others. Depending on where they're at, they'll see the same thing you see in a different light. And maybe you even know that's why it's valuable to talk to other people and to have their perspective, right? I was just kind of running through my mind to see, okay, I don't want to say that my friend sharing the perspective they were in was not valuable to me. It was valuable to me, but it was valuable to me because it confirmed for me that I cannot have the conversations with this person the way that we used to, where we would lift each other up through the conversation. That's not what's happening anymore. And it's valuable for that person to share their perspective so that I know that, right? So that I don't think that we're going to have those kind of conversations when we have them, and so that I can go into any interaction with them with a fresh plate again, with a fresh slate again. Maybe you know that too, that people can change at any time. At any time that veil could fall from them. So maybe it's a matter of allowing people to be fresh and new with each interaction as well. That might be something you're very good at. Understanding that the transformation is continual for yourself and others. That sometimes what people will be transmuting and working through and experiencing will be lower density, and sometimes it'll be higher density, and none of it's wrong or lesser or anything like that. I feel like maybe you get distracted a lot. People want your attention, things want your attention, but maybe it's an asset to you because you are able to multitask or kind of jump from one thing to another. And with that said, I'll be right back. So I forgot to get some blocks for the second reading. I did for the first, but your card actually has blocks. And it's kind of interesting because I looked over at my blocks and I was like, oh, I forgot to get blocks for the second reading. And And then I looked at your card and it was blocks, and I was like, oh, interesting. So, maybe there's just something about building blocks and like taking essential pieces to put them together. Abstract thinking sometimes, but also concrete thinking. So very versatile in your mind. Have faith. The heck was I writing here? Communicate. Yeah, I think it's supposed to say communicate. You're a good communicator and a deep thinker. Also, you may get messages in your dreams. You may get a lot of good messages in your dreams. Wacky, interesting. May enjoy things that are a little bit different and might be considered wacky. Wacky. What is wacky, anyways? Wacky is like out of the norm. Okay, I'm going to say this. If you are my friend, that we haven't found ourselves on the same wavelength lately. Hello. You'll know that I use that example if you are watching this. Then I would just add that, I think it just means, let's give it some time and see what happens, right? Like, we might end up back on the same level of wavelengths, and we might not, but either way, we know how we feel about each other. That's it. Maybe you too have had to let go of people that you love, care about, that you would have preferred to keep in your life and grow together with, but it just wasn't in your time was up. Did you hear that ding? It was just time to celebrate how far you had come together and then go to the next leg of the journey. That you got a piece that you needed from that experience and a piece from that. And so these pieces could also signify people that you had experiences with. Right? Because recognizing that all have been very important building blocks to your overall journey. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to look at this card a little on the back here. Okay, so you recognize that spirit is communicating with you, that your universe is communicating with you through your surroundings. Words, images, feelings, symbols. Sometimes simple, sometimes profound. Valuable information can be obtained from the spirit. And this is not just in your environment, but your dreams, right? So you may have found a beneficial dream interpreter to work with. A picture is worth 1,000 words. There are countless memories, see? Images, symbols, signs, and learning experiences that we retain throughout our lifetime. When you link with spirit, the blending process enables them to access your personal symbolic library, and within each experience stored with that image or symbol, you can tap into the associated memory. Well, this is how I do messages a lot sometimes too. You'll hear me referencing stories from my own life, and it's because that's how I'm pinged. I'm pinged with a memory or an example from my own life quite often, and it's how I get the impression of like a bigger picture within a feeling or a knowing or a download, you know? Because that's how the human brain works. It's relational. I have to relate this to something else in order to interpret it. That's how the human brain works. If you receive a symbol, you have to ask yourself, what does this symbol mean to me? Or what does this mean to whoever else whom you're communicating with? So I think you understand that we each have our personalized views. The more you ask these types of questions, the more you'll notice the same symbols appearing that have a similar association. A symbol or image may have a strong meaning to you, while the same image can have a totally different meaning for someone else. And that's something that you know to be very relevant, right? Like the language is simply like whatever means of transportation it can use to deliver the information. You can't have others interpret a symbol for you, so it's important. So you start building up your own symbols and their meanings, and maybe you define them for yourself as well. Like with my oracle, if you've ever seen me use my oracle bucket, yes, my granddaughter stuck this sticker here, so we're just leaving it here because it makes me think of her, and it's from a package of wipes. Which you actually may have seen me, if you watched all of these readings, I had a wipe to wipe my fingers with. It's that. So interesting symbolism here, right? But if you've seen me use this bucket, you know inside this bucket there are just words, and some of them are asteroids. And the asteroids are usually tied to a mythology, a mythological story. And that story gives us a lot more information than just that word, right? So I've used those to help me give or interpret messages or read energy, because that word reminds me of a whole mythology, which may have this leg of, tree of the branch, this tree of the branch, and I have to see which one is relevant to this story and put it in context. But that helps me, and so I've defined that for myself to work that way, right? I think you have learned to allow the relationships with others to grow and evolve, and you understand that sometimes it's even outgrown. And I kind of want to keep correcting myself when I say outgrow, because I want to change that to grow apart, right? Because the other way insinuates that like you're leaving someone behind, but that's never the case, because I've said this in other videos, and I'm going to say it now, and it's maybe a concept that you understand very well, but like, we can't judge for someone else where they should be at a certain given time. Where they are is where they're meant to be. They're on their own journey, right? So if I have not healed some certain whatever to the root, and I'm still carrying a version of a wound in my shadow at a certain stage, even though I've worked on that wound before, I still carry like a layer of it, right? Well, sometimes that's because I have to have that wound when I interact with so-and-so, because there's our contract for us to have a little interaction that scrapes both our wounds, and that's when it's appropriate to get healed. But if I had healed mine to the root before I had that interaction, I would have never been able to scrape that person, right? I would have already been in wisdom and not like stumbled into scraping the scab off their wound, which was my role for them in this lifetime as an agreement that I knew I would be participating in on a soul level. So this is why I think it's important that we remember, like, and you probably know this, that you don't get to say where someone else should be, or that they should be different than they are, or they should understand or be healed to a certain level, right? Elephant. Home, empathy, responsibility, cooperation. Number 16. So if you have children, they're very important to you. You are a nurturing soul. That is something that's natural to you. A fierce protector. Like, you would go to bat for a loved one, especially a child. But you would also honor the process of, like, somebody else's journey, right? Oh, just what we said about would they may not be healed to the, fullest degree yet. But that, that's part of their journey. That child is going to go and stub their toe and fall over, and that's okay, right? Like, because they're going to learn something from that experience. But, like, when it comes to making sure that child is safe or clothed or housed, you would take the responsibilities that you have in that way seriously. I wanted to say you've come full circle in a lot of ways. You just apply that to what it means to you. Meaning, like, you have completed and healed to the fullest degree on a lot of things. Okay. Deliver your greatest gift to the world. And the greatest gift that you have for the world is you, right? Is your essence, is your energy. It's your perspective. It's the loving eyes through you see through which, and it's the things that you came full circle on. Those are wisdoms that are, like, packaged and full and whole understandings that you can impart upon others as a gift. And I think a lot of it comes through your expression. Like, I've got air energy here with this card. The clouds. We did talk about divining messages from the clouds. You're a rare breed. Like, there's not a lot of ones like you left here. And you may be feeling pushed by, like, your wisdom to give it. It looks like maybe you prefer to have more passive way of delivering messages, but like there is like a stream here for leadership. There is a block on it, so it may not be time, but there may be like, you may be seeing times where leadership, like knowing that you've been being prepared for a leadership role. Yeah. You don't blame other people or whatever. Like, you don't pin the circumstances you're in on anything outside of you. You know that, like, you're the gift and you're also the challenge that you face. Okay. Get one of these, yeah. Frog prosperity. You let go of the past and embrace change. Opportunities are close at hand. Hop into this new day with joy, abundance, and good fortune await you. So I think you allow for this each day, right? You know that things are happening for you. Other versions of you may have wanted to like look at the past and hold on or analyze, and other versions of you may have wanted to like predict the future and know where you're going. But this version of you is just ready to take on the day and make the process of living life enjoyable, you know, happy, fruitful, and just knowing that the process of being, like the fact that you are alive, that the day that you get to live here and enjoy and experience what it is to be human is the gift, is a gift to you, and is a, yeah, words fall short, right? Swan, so I'll show you that card. Frogs also transform, right? So there were different stages, and all of those lent towards where you are now. And I think that you were led with your heart for a long time, and I think that's how you got to where you are. And now you're also like higher wisdom is in being, you know, channeled through you. That's where you're going from now. Swan, grace. You who glides across the water of my soul, bring your wisdom and light. Oh, the iris is in this, and the iris is my favorite flower. Help me transform into elegance and grace. Inspire me with dignity and the spirit of beauty. So I think that you are a very beautiful person, right? And not just that, but your soul is beautiful. You are elegant and graceful, and offer yourself as well as others grace. Oh, beautiful. That you have traversed many emotional deep waters. You've had to take leaps of faith and sometimes realize that you were a swan among ducks. What you carry with you, you are able to carry it with grace. Like it's not taking you out. When you allow yourself to focus on the higher order, the bigger picture, the like spirit's view. You rest in spirit's grace. Sort of, maybe you feel like sheltered from the storm. Like things are working out. You can see that it's going to work out fine, whatever happens. All right, now we're going to get the answer to a question that you may have or you might want to think of, or just do it for fun. You can pause if you need more time. Just getting a card from my answers deck to answer a question you may have. First choice jumped out. I'm not going to just take that. It's funny that I'm putting it back in even though it's the first choice. Much later. And then lighten up is showing on the deck. Okay, so apply those answers to your question however they make sense for you. Okay, and that is going to complete your reading, pick 3. Thank you so much for participating in this, and remember, it's just information to reflect on. We'll see you in the next one.